Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Um, some changes coming, and our attempt here is just to kind of discuss what's going on, what our action is right now, and kind of moving forward. So I always start with our mission. This is what we do. This is underpinning everything that we're doing, especially with everything that's coming up right now. I always like to also take a touch and say, here's where we're at 18 months into what I would say is our 5-year plan. So our academy is expanded. We've added the foundation phase underneath. So now we have 3, 4, 5-year-olds joining the club. And then we are working through the depth across the age groups, which is the conversation that we're going to be having here. We think that this registration change will actually support and drive this forward. And then we're still in the hunt for a facility too, some kind of space that we can call our own. This is what our pyramid has become over the last 18 months. We've added the foundation phase, which is somewhat a connection to the micro soccer levels. This, along with the academy phase, is part of our open pyramid. Players can join at any time. It's open registration, it's talent development. You guys are development and performance phases. Right now, you may be a 2016 playing in the academy phase. Some of you are going to be the development and performance phase players already. There is still a place for players to come and join us and play at those levels. However, those teams are fairly established, and part of what we'll be touching on today is pretty much the consistency and the establishment of our teams moving forward, and hopefully never having to go through any changes like this again. But importantly, the pyramid is getting the players to where they want to go, and there's particular players that want to go on and play at high school, for example. So what's going on? A little bit of context for you. 10 years ago, US soccer moved from, we call it Scholastic, it's that August 1 to July 31 registration. They moved to birth year, which is why now you're playing the 2016s, you're playing the 2015s, 2014s, and so on. It was all part of player development initiatives. So those initiatives included 7v7 soccer. You would have all come through that at this point. In 7v7, they have the things like the build outline, there's no heading. They layered in 9v9. So if any of you parents played years and years ago, you probably went from 8v8 straight into 11v11, or maybe even straight into 11v11. So the player development initiatives were fostering really positive environment. Now, a lot of the adjustment that happened to birth year was so that US soccer could focus in on the first quarter born kids. However, they recognize that that has actually had an adverse effect on players because the majority of players are coming through their schools and through their communities. So players were being split based on when they were born. Moving backwards into this allows us to kind of address that again. So this is what it looks like. We're moving back to August 1 to July 31, and you'll see just a little bit of highlighting in there around some of the crossover and some of the issues that we're going to have moving into this next registration cycle. We have older teams who are generally fairly well established, and they will be kind of as they are. But you'll see if you are a 2014 born boy or girl, depending on where you are born in 2014, will determine, at least on paper, where you should be playing next year. Now, of course, on paper, it doesn't take into context who you are, what you do, the relationships that you have. And we'll touch on that a little bit more here as we move forward. But that's what our new registration cycle looks like. So we're going back to the U classification, U11, U12, U13, instead of what is now 2014s, 2015s, and so on. This is US soccer wide. In particular, we see opportunity. Doesn't always mean that that's the case, but we see opportunity here. So if you were born in 2016, between January 1 and July 31, you get to go and play up at 9v9. Get to go and play up. Same thing if you were born in the early part of that window, you get to play 7v7. And we say you get to because there is opportunity. The player development initiatives were created to provide opportunity for players to play in a development appropriate environment. We talk about us as the club, as the Vikings, being a talent development environment, not a talent identification. And that development allows us to play players in the right levels of play and allow them to be the best players that they can be. So, what if you are in this example, a 2014, and you were born in the first part of 2014? So that means you get to move up to U13. But what if your best friend was born in the later part of 2014? So on paper, they would be a U12 player. Importantly, nothing is concrete here, meaning if you want to play up, you want to stay with your team because that's the group that you've established the best rapport with. That's the group that you feel most at home with. Maybe you don't even want to play soccer if you can't play with those friends. All sorts of context that comes into it. We just need to know behind the scenes, conversations are happening. We have our coaches connecting with each other around the rosters as we see them. We see them again on paper. We ask our coaches then to just input their feelings, what they know about our players. We already know that some players would want to stay with their group. And there's also been some other conversations where players have said, I will play wherever it suits my level of play, whether that means I would move up in this example to 11v11 or stay in 9v9. I'll play where it's deemed to be best for me as a player. So these conversations continue. It's not a one size fits all, and it's definitely nothing is concrete, but it allows us to continue to have this conversation. And why we're having this now in January is to share with you what is going on. Lots of people are asking, hey, it's coming, there's change coming, we know what's going on, something's up. Her coaches are starting to have those same conversations. So we just accelerate that and bring everybody together right now and say, this is what's going on. This is where we see ourselves going here. This is where we're going to take our club and give ourselves the best chance of success as we navigate this change moving into the next season. So we will continue to evaluate. What does that evaluation look like? Begins February 7th and February 14th on your schedules. You'll see two training sessions, two kind of mini play dates. You'll see 9:30 to 11. Based on the birthday, U11 and U12 players are invited to come and play. The same for the 11 to 12:30, everybody else that's above that. The biggest thing is we want you to attend your birthday. If you want to play, in this example, it would be playing up, we can do that as well. We just want you to come to both sessions so that we can see you in action. The purpose behind this is number one, it's opportunity. We have the field. We don't have the spring schedule of games. We don't have the conflict of what's going on with futsal and then moving into the season. So it's a really good opportunity to get ahead of it. So what does it look like? It's camaraderie. It's about making connections, about bringing the boys together and the girls together. If they've never been around each other, if they've never played with each other because they've just been divided by birth year and they've never had that connection, then it's a really good opportunity to bring them together and see what that looks like. Our coaches have given their input to each other, but now we get to see it in action too. So again, the paper translates to the context on the field. Importantly, we are not finalizing rosters. This isn't a tryout. This isn't a do or die opportunity for our players. And if you can't make it, we just want to know that you can't make it. But it's about internal observations and giving us the best shot so that when we do get to that tryout window, we would really like for our teams to be as established as possible. It's priority to you as our members of our club that we emphasize this talent development and really say what is best for your player and have that conversation. If U12 is where you should be on paper, and again, it's just a no-no, whether that's for a whole host of reasons, we just want to make sure that the player's interest is what's actually mattering here. Some players that will be playing across a couple of different age groups based on the teams that they've been assigned to. So we'd just be remiss to not maximize this opportunity to allow our players just to meet and change up a little bit, even if it means that they don't change their team. No problem. But it's an opportunity for us to bring our groups together and then to share this information with you too. So that's February 7 and 14. Ideally, you can make both sessions. If you can only make one, you can only make one. We know that we are, just a couple of weeks away from these. And so it's February, might be skiing season. It could be all sorts of things going on, of course. But biggest thing is it's an opportunity and we want to bring the players together as much as possible. Notably, you've been playing on your team all season, maybe more than one season, maybe back into last year and the year before that. The coaches know you. We have a really good coaching staff who have been with the club for a long time. They know you. They probably worked with you 2 or 3 years ago. They're probably working with you right now. So these conversations are really easy for the coaches to have as they have this crossover between 2 or 3 age groups throughout their experience within the club. So we feel really confident about the ability of our coaches to navigate this with us and with you. But it starts with hopefully being there on February 7th and 14th. Can't make it? It's definitely not the end of the world. Every player inside of their forms, inside of Sprocket now, has a self-reflection task. 4 sliding scale self-reflection questions and 3 open-ended questions. We just want to know how your player feels right now. How do they see themselves as a soccer player? What's their learning ability, their mentality? Just a sliding scale, 5 being the best, 1 being, oh, I'm not right there right now. And then the reflection allows us just to get a better understanding of who the players are, how they feel about moving through this change right now. Note the final question as you look forward, what kind of player do you want to become? Because then this will layer into what our coaches and our teams look like, what that structure looks like. So the submissions for this will close on February 16th after we've gone through these couple of internal play dates. And it's designed that way so that now our players are really beginning to think, and you guys as families are really beginning to think about what next year looks like. And hopefully you have information to guide you on that information now. We want to add in a couple of tournaments. Now, we're looking from a simple perspective of having a tournament per team. We want to use this as a measure of success that says, hey, we're going to go to one of these tournaments in April, and we want to say, we're going to go, we're going to attempt to win. We're going to go and attempt to match our playing style at culminating at the end of the season before the tryout window that will say to us as a team, we did it. We got this far. We've done all this work. Maybe there's some changes happening because of birthdays. Maybe there's not. But this will all be just a beautiful little sign off and help us prepare for what's coming into next year as we continue to tweak what our offering as a club looks like. So this will all go into your profiles. We'll add it all in there through Sprocket. We'll get that up as soon as we can. We'll work with coaches on their schedules and your schedules overall, trying to avoid as many conflicts as possible so we can get as many players into that environment as a kind of reward for the end of the season as possible. If you're currently a recreational player, there probably will be, and we'll be working on this too, of guest play opportunities to come and play in those tournaments too, as we begin to make this kind of change into what next year looks like, which is an expansion on what we've done. The consistency has been really good. Winter has been just a little bit different with futsal, and the note at the bottom there is that it's going to become more optional per team. This year, we put it out to everybody and said, hey, everybody's going to do futsal. And it was hit and miss. And we had some players that had to join other teams, or we had other coaches who weren't quite available consistently. So it just created some gaps, coupled with registering in a different platform and the process playing in that league. It just hasn't hit the right note that we're looking for. Which is why if a team, and this will go to the coaches, and we'll say to Coach Michael Jensen, hey, do you want to do futsal with your group? Great. Now we'll put it out to your team and make sure that we get a group that wants to go play versus saying to everybody's going to come in and play futsal. So what does that mean? It means consistent training throughout the year. December through February, we'll be doing twice a week. We'll be adding in a tournament in that end of November, beginning of December timeframe to be able to have a measure of success. We've explored State Cup a little bit. The NorCal State Cup is between 8 and 10 games, depending on how you do. But that's layered in throughout the season. And the number one issue we have is access to fields and the consistency that we can get with those fields. So our preference right now is to look at utilizing things like tournaments as a performance environment, a weekend of games to go and see how our team is doing. Same for April. Excuse me. Same for April, coming into what the end of that winter into spring season looks like, and then layering in another tournament. That's what we want the next year to look like. Just a little bit more of a refined overview for our players to be able to say, this is what's happening. The changes that are happening right now with the registration cycle, that will be done at the end of this tryout window in May. Teams will be established, and then we can just continue to do what we do in-house. So Knockout Premier will be our continued league of registration, much like the same issues that we've had with the futsal league, we have with playing internally in the San Francisco Youth Soccer League. We also know that the majority of our teams are playing in the city, even when they have away games. They may have a couple of games up and down the peninsula, but few and far between compared to the amount of games because of the amount of teams and clubs that are now playing in the city. It gives us a much better control over scheduling. It allows us to move players freely between teams, and that should be even more important this spring season as we begin to identify players that may be moving around in the next season. The placement, whether it's a bronze team, a gold team, and the challenge that we're trying to push onto our players will just be evaluated based on previous competition, the changes within the squad. We have a sweet spot of 50-50. This may not be surprising. We want to win every game, of course, but a 50-50 of wins and losses is a pretty solid season, and that's really good for holistic development. Again, this is our mission. This is about nurturing soccer communities and holistic development. This is what we stay true to. So is my coach. I'll tell you soon. I promise you that. What it means is the coaching slate is being established right now. Most of you have had conversations with your coaches. Will you be coaching next year? And there's a very good chance that the same coaches will be continuing. We know that during this change, the continuity of those coaches, and based on your feedback that comes into us through the survey that we did in November, we know that the connection to your coach is part of the strongest reason why you play, why you continue to play, and why you've played for the years that you have. So as we navigate these changes, there will be some changes as those teams split between 9v9 and 11v11, but we'll be doing everything we can to provide as much consistency throughout the coaching slate. You also see an evolution of our head coaches becoming more age group leads under the guidance of Joey too. So you see lots of little things that we're starting to do behind the scenes and provide as much consistency for you up front. But it starts with joining us in February, starts with answering those self-reflection questions. And then you'll see more things coming into your schedules, the additional opportunities of combining teams for training, the 2013s and 2012s, perhaps merging together as we navigate what that looks like and adding in the seventh and eighth grade players that are playing on the different teams throughout the club so that we bring this collection together. You'll see us doing more outreach, more marketing around who we are and what we're doing. We feel really good about being in this position and saying, this is what we are doing. I don't know what everybody else is doing, but we know that you want answers. We know that we have some answers that we can give you. And this is what we are doing and why we are doing it. This is what's best that we believe is best for your players based on the feedback that you give us, based on the input from your coaches too. But it continues, and we want you to give as much as you can. If you have a concern or a query and you go to your coach and maybe they don't have the answer, they're maybe just not sure, just let me know. You have me in Sprocket, you have my email, you can call the office anytime, drop by, just fire away with those questions because I bet if you're asking that question, somebody else is already asking that question too, and we can get those answers out to you. Again, the idea here, recording this, sharing this out, so the information remains consistent. Things that appear on your schedule are for the benefit of your players and for the group. Now it's just over to you guys to hopefully be able to make those things as much as possible. And that's it. I said 20 minutes, 19 minutes in. More is coming. But we wanted to get ahead and say, this is what we are doing. This is what you can expect from these little sessions that are getting together on the 7th and the 14th. Let us know if you can make it. Let us know if you cannot make it. Let us know your feelings. If you are one of those players that's on that bubble of the birthdays for playing up or playing down, we want to know how you feel. Coaches will have their input, but we want to know what's important to you in these moments too. So that's it from me. If you have any questions, fire away. I can set you up to unmute yourself, or you can just type away in those questions, or if you have anything that you want to just shoot over to me right now, definitely do it, please. And again, your coach will have answers for you along the way too. But the attempt here is just continuous information. This is what's going on, this is where we're going, and you're absolutely integral to what we are doing and why we are doing it. So I thank you all for being here, and just let me know anytime that you have something come up. So Scott, there's those times on your schedule, depending on what your current team is. You may have a different time on there, 9:30 to 11, 11 to 12:30. So we just got to tweak those a little bit. But this will be the information that we'll ask you to follow along with and attend. So again, if you're in the younger side, come to the younger one, stay for the older one, absolutely, and come and be a part of it too. So thank you, Scott. Absolutely. Tommy, thank you. Ryan, thank you.